Churns way out in the Atlantic. People being urged, in some cases, are being ordered not to go into the water. The Air Canada Flight Attendants Union says it has a tentative contract agreement to end a 3-day strike. Snarled travel plans of thousands of air passengers. Air Canada plans to get all of its flights back into the air by tonight. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures are mixed. Dow futures are up 60 points. This is SRN News.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-936-5496.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-936-5496.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Today will be a bit cooler than yesterday with some clouds and isolated non-severe storms possible east of Highway 25. Highs will be in the lower 90s. Light north winds will turn to the southeast at 5 to 15 miles per hour. And tonight, some clouds and fog will develop with lows around 65. Tomorrow and Thursday, the upper level ridge will amplify, pushing storms out of the region. Expect sunshine, hot and humid conditions with southeast winds at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Highs in the mid to upper 90s and lows in the mid to upper 60s. Friday will continue to be hot and dry during the day. Highs 90 to 95, but a Pacific trough will flatten the ridge and bring evening and overnight storm chances with a cool front, with lows dropping to 60. Saturday and Sunday, the trough axis will span from the Great Lakes through the central U.S., bringing likely showers and storms, and much cooler temperatures with highs 75 to 85 and lows 55 to 60. This is meteorologist Chris Robick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
This summer, NWKS Radio is bringing the party to you with Rock the Block. You could win the ultimate backyard prize pack, a big dog cooler, lounge chairs, a 4-piece patio set, an $8,000 hot tub from Paradise Spas, plus insulation credit from Lure Electric. We're crashing your neighborhood with giveaways, games, and special surprises all summer long. Enter now at nwksradio.net and let's rock the block. Powered by NWKS Radio and your favorite local sponsors.
Summer's ending, school's here, and Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland has the trucks to keep you moving. A 2025 Sierra 3500 Pro, $1,000 purchase allowance or 3.9% for 48 months. A 3500 Denali, $2,000 purchase allowance or 3.9%. Or Sierra 1500 over a $6,000 purchase allowance or 0% APR for 36 months. Make this school year the smoothest ride yet. Visit Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, or shop online anytime at hurlchev.com.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
The Burlington Home Store has a yard work center. They're your garden center, everything you need. Home construction and repair, plus a great line of cleaning supplies and appliances for your home. Burlington Home Store, your full-service lumber yard. You'll need hand and power tools, too. They've got them. By your windows, storm doors, screens, maybe even a barbecue grill. All at your Burlington Home Store, West Burlington. And the staff knows how to help you. And they will, too, at the Burlington Home Store.
Need a porta potty or septic pumping in Northwest Kansas? Call Topside Portables and Pumping, your local family-owned crew. They've got clean, reliable toilets for weddings, farms, and job sites, plus full septic services, RV waste, fertilizer tanks, and more. Available 24/7, because when nature calls, they answer. Call 785-728-8089. That's 728-8089. Topside Portables and Pumping. Reliable, local, clean.
You ready? One, two, three, four!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
I am old and I am white, and I do not understand it in any way, shape, or form.
The High Plains only local sports talk show.
Not this again. Yes, this again.
Broadcasting live on Rocket 102.5 and streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps.
It's an air ball in the Colby Eagles, victorious in Hugoton.
To the pros.
The cheer is hit to left. It's deep, going back. Gurriel. It's gone. He has done it again. His second home run tonight. And the Rockies have come back to take the lead.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank. Along with the insurance agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
Line into the corner, gone. Vinny Pasquantino after the leadoff walk. And the Royals lead 3-1.
Under 20 to go, end zone shot. Tinsley, come on. Did he catch it? Touchdown is the call. Westbrook's ready, fires. That one's on the ground into right. Tillits, he lost the ball. Vargas is coming in. He's safe. Nevada will walk it off in the seventh and win a thriller 1-0.
One pitch, bounced up the middle, into center field. Tovar rounds third. He scores! Warming Bernabel, his first walk-off hit as a big leaguer. And the Rockies make it 4 in a row.
Man, those Rockies getting hot. Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. Broadcasting Goodland's Rocket 1025, NWKSradio.net, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on X, Facebook, YouTube. Appreciate you tuning in here on this Tuesday morning. A beautiful, beautiful morning, 64 and sunny after I would call it a surprise little rainstorms that made their way through the area here this past night. I know I had, I would guess probably, I don't know, once again, depends on what kind of rain. I did not go out and dump. I was gone this weekend. I did not dump my rain gauge from this weekend. So I guess if you got, I don't know. I feel like, total from Sunday night through Monday night, if that's the case, got ourselves about 1.25 inches in my house. So pretty nice precipitation, that's for sure. And I was looking at the rainfall reports that Raleigh was kind enough to share with me. You look at these totals that have happened, 1.50 inches down south of town, and yeah, just a great rain shower for us, particularly us here in Sherman County. As it went further east, and particularly if it stayed north of I-70, it maybe wasn't as much. It was kind of funny to see the storms last night. Kind of tracking. It looked like it was, I told my wife at one point in time, the storm, you would start driving in haze and rain, and you would drive in rain all the way to Lyman. It was all across the interstate. So you would have been on the road for a good 3.5-4 hours and nothing but rain if you could have traveled through that storm that was there for a while last night. Not that it would have moved, obviously, but still, it was interesting. It stretched all the way from Hayes to Lyman, did that rainstorm at one point in time last night. All right, here on a Tuesday program, we've got lots to get to. If you're a K-State fan, particularly K-State football, this is going to be a show for you today. We're going to do this with Kansas as well a little bit later on the week because the season officially kicks off here on Saturday. K-State taking on Iowa State in Dublin, Ireland. You've got KU taking on Fresno State at the reimagined David Booth Memorial Stadium that's happening on Saturday. So we will just be discussing Kansas and Kansas State, but Kansas later on in the week. K-State here today. We will be diving into here an opening segment in just a little bit. It will be ranking the toughest games from 12 to 1 for Kansas State. What is the easiest games to the hardest games? Toughest games for Kansas State here in the 2025 season. That'll be segment number 1. Then we'll be joined by one of our good friends, Wyatt Thompson of the K-State Sports Network. The radio voice of the Cats will be joining us today to discuss everything that's happening as they get set to take off for Ireland tomorrow. And we'll get some thoughts with Wyatt Thompson as they get set to kick off the 2025 football season. He's had plenty of time to watch some practice and see a few things, and we will see how he's feeling going into I think, a very challenging game against Iowa State to kick off the season. And then we'll touch a little bit more on baseball in segment 3 and some great news for Colby Community College volleyball, or some cool news for Colby Community College volleyball in the walk-off. That is the program for today. As always, if you'd like to be a part of the Morning Blitz, you can do so at 785-899-2222. Once again, that's the FNB Bank text line at 785-899-2222. If you'd like to be part of the Morning Blitz, get your thoughts, your comments, your questions in. We will get to those throughout the program. But yeah, I'm glad you're with us. And well, let's get diving into this here. So the opening topic is once again ranking Kansas State football's toughest games here in the 2025 season. So going from, what are the starting at the easiest games, which will start at number 12 and work our way back to 1, with 1 being the hardest game, I think, here in the 2025 season. That's what we're going to do here in segment 1. If you want to throw in your thoughts and comments, you're welcome to do so throughout it. But let's just get cracking on this. I'm going to start at number 12, obviously, and I think the easiest game by far is probably North Dakota. North Dakota is in a similar spot that they were a couple of years ago when Nebraska played Ireland, because Nebraska played in Ireland, lost to Northwestern, and then came back home, and the very next week played North Dakota, and North Dakota gave Nebraska all they could handle. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Kansas State, but North Dakota will be, I think, the easiest game on the schedule, even though I think it will be a minor bit of a challenge for Kansas State. Once you've been over there and you have played the game, and then you try, and then you get back, and you've got all that time change and things of that sort, getting your body ready, it could be a challenge. And so maybe the first quarter is a little rough for Kansas State, but I think North Dakota is going to be the easiest game on the schedule, and pretty much by far. This is where it probably gets a little bit dicey for some, but I think at number 11, I'm going to go with Central Florida or UCF. There is just so much new for Central Florida this year. I know Scott Frost is back, and I know he led them to a 13-0 record a few years ago. I just feel like there's so much new for them. They've went out and added a whole bunch of pieces. Now, I think they're probably more talented than they were a little bit last year at certain spots, particularly at quarterback. But so much new, and they're early on in the season. I think it's game number 5. And also, by the way, it is at home too. And so I think Kansas State will be back. They'll be back on their typical schedule, their typical clocks from their trip to Ireland. They'll feel good. And so I think they're going to put themselves in a spot to play really well against UCF. They're at home, and a lot of new for UCF. It might have felt a little bit different about this game if it was later on in the season, but I just feel like there's too much new at this time. And Central Florida, I think K-State will be able to take care of UCF, is my point. So that's number 11. Number 10, I'm going to go with Colorado, and I know some fans will be mad about that, but I think it's probably the third easiest game for Kansas State this season, coming in at number 10. They just lost so much from last year. When you lose a quarterback like Shadur Sanders and all the weapons that were around him, and and I know everyone says they might be deeper, they might be a little bit more depth-wise better, but the high-end talent is the high-end talent, and I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome that here this year. I'm very intrigued. It's a curious case of Colorado. I just believe that they're going to struggle a little bit, even though it is the later on in the season. In fact, it's the last game of the year, November 29th, but just lost so much from last year. How good is Colorado actually going to be? I feel like it's probably the third easiest game on the schedule. The fourth easiest game for Kansas State in my ranking of toughest games, going to be at Arizona. Could be a really scary game, to be honest with you. Arizona has a lot of returners, but they only won 4 games last year, so they're really hard to put. And a couple of years ago, they were really good. When they had Jed Fish, he had a quarterback named Noah Fafita. He's still there, by the way. They had the great big wide receiver that's now at the Carolina Panthers. But now they lost those. Fafita is still there, but they've lost some guys, but they return a good portion of their offensive line. I always look at offensive and defensive line. If you've got returners there and guys that have experience, that's a good thing. Arizona has that, particularly on the offensive line. They've got themselves a really good quarterback. Their coach, Brent Brennan, it's their second season. They're going to have a little bit better feel for that offense, and maybe they'll get Fafita going. I mean, I would think Fafita and Brennan would get along. He's a passing quarterback. He's a passing guy offensively, or his philosophy is a passing as a coach. I think they get along, but I don't know. It hasn't to this point. It didn't work last year, but I think Kansas State on the road at Arizona. It's a non-conference game, so it doesn't count towards the conference record. This game was scheduled once again prior to Arizona joining the Big 12. But I think it could be a scary game, but I still think Kansas State should be able to take care of business. They will have that's my fourth easiest game on Kansas State's schedule. So far we've got North Dakota with the easiest game so far this year, followed by UCF at 11, Colorado at 10, and then Arizona coming in there at number 9 is where we sit there so far through the 4 easy games. Now I want to get to most difficult games here, kind of flip it around and start at number 8. And so at the 8th hardest game on this schedule is going to be Army. And I'm sure some people are like, why in the world is Army this high up on the list? 2 reasons why. Number 1 is there's been some experts that have said, when you do a lot of traveling and you change a lot of time zones like Kansas State is going to do, sometimes it's the second week that actually gets you the most. And that's when Army comes to town. It's the second week of the season. September 6th is when this actually happens for Kansas State to take on and host Army. Here's the thing. So you've got to come back. Body's still trying to probably get a little bit ready for this game. And you have to take on an Army team that nobody wants to play the service academies. Nobody wants to play the service academies. Why, might you ask? Because they run an offense that no one else really runs. And it takes a whole lot. And your scout team struggles to run it to give you a great look. It is a massive challenge. I've heard stories from coaches saying, well, in order to get prepared for teams like that, we were practicing it in the springtime. We were practicing it through the summer months, trying to get ready for it. It is so hard to prepare for triple option football. Army, Navy, Air Force, and to kudos, Rice now going to run the triple option in college football, at major college football. I think it's great. A lot of people used to run a style of option, whether it was the wishbone or the power eye or just straight triple option, ran a lot of that stuff, the flex wing, the flex bone, all that kind of stuff. A lot of teams used to run it. Now they don't. It's gone to more of a passing attack. And you're used to playing that stuff, at least a version of it. Then you have to come back 2 weeks after being in Arizona, where we hopefully get a win against Iowa State. That'll be a very tough game. You'll come back against North Dakota. You'll be beat up from a physical game. North Dakota's well rested. They didn't have a game yet. You're going to have to fight the time zone thing there. And then you're going to turn around and then have to fight the time zone for another week, more than likely, and take on an Army team that runs the triple option that you're not used to facing. I think that is a very, very scary game for Kansas State. And it should be. I just think it should be a very scary game. Army has beaten teams like Oklahoma beat Oklahoma. They pushed Oklahoma to absolute brink in Norman. They've given a lot of teams fits. Yes, their quarterback from last year who was really good, did have to graduate, but that's still an attack that you don't want to face. So I'm on this hill where I believe Army is going to be a very challenging game for Kansas State this year. Still think they can win it, but I think it'll be a very difficult game, even though they are not going to even have Army is not going to have anywhere near the same amount of talent on the field as Kansas State. But a lot of factors, returning home, time zone change, and facing a team in a style of offense that you just don't ever see very much. This might be the only triple option that Kansas State sees for another 10 years, but it's going to be challenging. So I've got Army coming in at number 8 on the 8th hardest game this season for Kansas State. At number 7, I'm going with Kansas, the rivalry game. They do get this. This game is at Kansas. I think the biggest reason I think this game is this low to an extent is because we just don't know enough about Kansas. Don't really know enough about KU. How are they going to look? Are they going to be improved from last year? Are they going to find that offensive groove they did a few years ago? I don't know. There's a lot of portal additions on the defense. Are those guys going to hit? There's just a lot of question marks at Kansas right now. But at Kansas brings it up a little bit, and rivalry game that makes it always interesting. But you have to remember that Kansas State has still won 16 in a row over the Jayhawks, 16 in a row. So I'm putting Kansas there at number 7 on the 7th hardest game of the season. Number 6, moving up to Oklahoma State at number 6. Now, Oklahoma State probably could have been anywhere from 6 to 8 in my rankings here. Oklahoma State was a train wreck last year. What happened? If I had to take a stab, Mike Gundy said, I don't believe in the portal. I don't believe in really paying players. And we're just going to continue to do it. And that backfired on him greatly, resulting in a 4-win season last year for Oklahoma State. It was one of the worst they've had in a long time. Oklahoma State this year decided to change his, Mike Gundy decided to change his tune. He's going to go into the portal, which he did. He's going to pay his players, which he did. But the problem is there is a lot of new, and that can either hit, and it could be a great season for Oklahoma State, or it could completely whiff and be another stinker there for Gundy, and he might be gone. I don't know where that's going to sit here at this point in time. Nobody does. They do have a quarterback, Zane Flores, who I think is talented, but is very young. They're going to be playing a quarterback that has 0 college football experience, really, at least. And that game is going to happen towards the end of the season. He'll have more experience, but then who knows? He might not be the starting quarterback. They might have made a change at that point in time. But another reason why this game is a little bit higher than the Kansas game is because K-State has really struggled to play in Stillwater. In their last 9 games, K-State is 1-8. 1-8 in their last 9 games is KSU in Stillwater. So they do not play well there down at Okie State. So that's why Oklahoma State comes in at number 6. I think they're going to be an improved team. Still a lot of question marks, but Stillwater has been a house of horrors for K-State football for many years. So they come in at number 6. Continuing to do ranking Kansas State's toughest games of the 2025 college football season here on the Morning Blitz. Let's go to number 5, and I've got TCU at this point in time. TCU, and this, honestly, 5 through 1, obviously there's question marks. The season has begun. We don't know who's going to look good, who's going to look bad, who's going to step up, who's going to take a step back. We don't know any of this stuff. But I'm going to put TCU at number 5. They have a lot of guys back, including their quarterback, Hoover. They have a defense that returns quite a bit that should continue to be improved. I think Gary Patterson, who's been a great sorry, not Gary Patterson. I'm going way back in my time there. But they should have a defense that is improved. And offensively, I think they're going to put up some yards. I think it's a challenge. TCU is at home for homecoming on October 11th. That does make it a little bit easier being at home, but I still think it will be a challenging game for Kansas State, a difficult one, facing a very, very good offense. Number 4, I'm putting Texas Tech, the darling of the Big 12, on the most difficult game. The Kansas State takes on Texas Tech on November 1st at home. That's a bonus. You have them at home, but they return almost everyone from last year's 8-win team. They return a lot of players. I think they return, of the 22 starters on offense and defense. I want to double check this in my magazine here. Yes, that's correct. 10 offensive and 11 defense. They return everybody on defense and one offensive, only lose one offensive starter from last year's 8-win team. So they have continuity coming back. That is so critical and so big, I think, in today's era of college football. Plus, they've gone out in the portal and added some of the most talented players that were in the portal thanks to their great NIL. So they not only they return almost everyone, but they add so many pieces. Texas Tech is going to be a very good football team, one would think, if they can put it all together. And the thing is, they already have continuity from last year. That should just continue to grow. And the pieces that come in, as long as they just aren't complete disruptors, they should be able to fit into that and make them better. So Texas Tech is a challenging game on November 1st, right? Yeah, November 1st. That'll be a challenging game, but I think Texas Tech will be a very intriguing contest with Kansas State. Number 3, into the top 3 of the toughest games for Kansas State here in the 2025 season. At Baylor is there at number 23, or is at number 3. Baylor should be one of the best offenses in the Big 12. They return their quarterback and Sawyer Robertson, who threw for a ton of yards, a ton of touchdowns, and minimal interceptions last year. He's got his top 2 wide receivers back and his top 2 running backs back. That offense should be dynamic. And defensively, according to reports, Dave Aranda, head coach, who is a defensive guy, thinks that, well, we're going to be much improved. We're going to be a much improved defensive team, and we're going to be better there. And I believe him because he's a defensive guy. So, once again, I'm going to put Baylor at number 3 here. Very difficult game. It is at Baylor. It's on October 4th. If Baylor's healthy and K-State's healthy, it should be a dandy of a contest. But Kansas State's defense is going to be challenged by Baylor's offense. Can K-State's offense score points to keep up with Baylor? That's going to be the question. At number 3, Baylor, my 3rd hardest game for Kansas State this year. Number 2, it's the game we will see and much anticipated on Saturday. Iowa State is the 2nd hardest game on the schedule for Kansas State this season. Iowa State returns so much from an 11-win team, including 4 offensive linemen. Their 2 top running backs and their quarterback, of course, is back as well. There is so much going for them. They have a great linebacking core. There is some questions at the first level, the defensive line and the secondary, and maybe you'll be able to make some success out of that. But Iowa State has so much coming back from that 11-win team, so much, and they're so well coached. You're in a new setting, a new environment. It is for them as well. I still think, and it's such a humongous game in my opinion. And I know Chris Kleiman said it yesterday in his press conference. You know, they don't want to put too much stock in this first game. Yes, it's just the first game. It's still a big game. It's a big, big game to try and step up and knock off Iowa State, who I think once again has just so much back and so much team continuity from last year. I think it's just a super, super tough game for Kansas State on the road against Iowa State. But the best part about that game is it is at a neutral site, and both teams have to deal with the conditions of playing overseas at a neutral site field. But I still think Iowa State is the 2nd hardest game on the schedule. And the number one toughest game, I believe, for Kansas State here in the 2025 season is going to be at Utah. I know Utah, that game will be played on November 22nd. It'll be the hardest place to play on the schedule, I believe. The Moss, as it is known, the student section there gets really rowdy. They have themselves this year, after a down year for Utah, they have returned all of their offensive line. All 5 guys in the O-line are back. They are an super experienced O-line. They have a new offensive coordinator, and with him, he brought his quarterback from New Mexico, and Devin Dampier, who can run really good and can throw it pretty well too. So they will have a very much improved offense and a defense that will continue to be one of the best in the nation. It's always been a great defensive unit going back for many years underneath Kyle Whittingham. They will continue to be one of the best in the nation, I would say, defensively, with a much improved offense and a very difficult place to play. It's giving me thoughts of BYU from last year. That's my thought on it. It's giving me those feelings of BYU from a season ago. Going to Utah. I think it'll be the toughest game to play on the schedule for Kansas State this season at Utah. So there you go. Ranking Kansas State's toughest games. So once again, in reverse order from easiest to hardest, 12-1, North Dakota, Central Florida, Colorado, Arizona, and then Army, at Kansas, at Oklahoma State, TCU, and then the top 4, Texas Tech, at Baylor, Iowa State a neutral site, and at Utah, my toughest games for the Kansas State football season here in 2025. I will make my season record prediction on Friday for where I think Kansas State and Kansas as well. I'll make my predictions on Friday on how I think the season will go for both of those teams. All right, we're right at the bottom of the hour. 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain Time. We'll take a quick break. We're back with Wyatt Thompson, voice of the Wildcats, next. Stick around. This is the Morning Blitz.
At FNB Bank, we understand the backbone of our community is our local farmers and ranchers. Whether you're growing crops, raising livestock, or investing in new equipment, we're here to help you succeed. Our agricultural loans are tailored to meet the unique needs of your farm, with flexible terms from people who understand what it takes to make it in agriculture. When you partner with FNB Bank, you're working with neighbors who know the land and are invested in your success. FNB Bank, rooted in our community, growing with you. Member FDIC.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
This is Austin Wright with the Anderson Trade Group and your morning market update. It is August 19th. September corn futures $3.79. December corn futures $4.02 1/4. March 26 corn futures $4.20. September KC wheat $4.99 1/2. December KC wheat $5.21 1/4. March 26 KC wheat $5.39 3/4. November soybeans $10.39 3/4. January soybeans $10.59 1/4. March 26 soybeans $10.74 1/2. Dow Jones futures are currently up 85 points at 45,071. S&P 500 futures are currently down 5 points at 6,463 points. NASDAQ futures are currently down 47 points at 23,750. Gold is currently up $1.40 at $3,379. Crude oil is currently down 82 cents at $62.60. For your grain marketing needs or more information on our freedom pricing tools, you can reach the Kansas City office. Jared Law, Tyler Ghosh, Tom Saludo at 913-748-3000. In Colorado, John Hankey and John Stiles, 970-744-4484.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Farmers and ranchers, are you looking to sell your equipment at auction for zero fees and zero commissions? Well, then you need to check out Hayden Outdoors' new online equipment auction platform. You can list your equipment in our monthly online auctions using our easy-to-use platform, and you don't pay any fees or commissions. Visit HaydenOutdoors.com to learn more. That's HaydenOutdoors.com.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, and cleaner American fuel. This message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
This season, armyworm better watch out. Because your wheat is protected by Lumavia CPL insecticide seed treatment with the unique mode of action. It starts at the seed, then moves through the plant to protect it, from roots to shoots, for strong stand establishment and better yield potential. Armyworms, you're out of here. Learn more at corteva.us/Lumavia CPL.
From the headlines to the highlights.
It's good! The Wildcats are champions of the Big 12!
This is the Morning Blitz.
Going to be a bit of a cooler day here on the high plains than it was yesterday. Yesterday, hot and steamy, resulted in a nice rain shower for us. in some parts, but a high of 88 expected the high today. Mostly sunny right now and 64 as we continue here on a Tuesday morning, August the 19th in the Morning Blitz. We are making our way every second, every minute, closer and closer to kickoff from Dublin, Ireland at Aviva Stadium, where Kansas State takes on Iowa State to kick off the 2025 college football season at the Aer Lingus College Classic. And we are pleased to be joined by the radio voice of the Kansas State Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson, who joins us now on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. Good morning, Wyatt. How are we doing today?
You know what? I couldn't be better. Great to be on with you, Ross. Excited. We're leaving by bus tomorrow at about 12:30 from the Veneer Complex, headed to Kansas City and then on to Dublin. After about a year of talking about this, reality is setting in, my friend. No doubt about that.
It's about time, right? Done enough talking about this. It's time to do it. How do you plan to take those hours out of the flight?
Well, there's only so much you can do. I've got a couple of books that I started that I'm very interested in, so I'll probably take one of those. I've got a book. I met a guy this summer playing golf whose grandfather pitched for the Brooklyn/LA Dodgers back in the day, and that book is so good in the first few pages that I've read. I think I'll probably either do that or the book about Mike Leach, who coached in our league for a long, long time and one of the most innovative people offensively in the history of college football, I think. So that's probably the choices. I'm not a real big movie watcher on planes. Kind of planning to take a little melatonin to sleep on the way there. Not wanting to sleep too much on the way back, just kind of trying to acclimate to the time, and probably more than you wanted to know. But I feel pretty good about the plan. We'll see.
I feel like you have to have a game plan when you're doing this, and so does the team and the coaches. I'm guessing they've done a lot of studies and stuff on that to get ready.
That's a great point, Ross, because and Chris Kleiman has talked about this to me and in media sessions. He's talked to NFL coaches that have played overseas, winning or losing. College coaches have played, particularly in this Aer Lingus Classic. And it's interesting to have him talk about it because so many have different stories, right? About, the time change and reacclimating yourself. I know he has, large concerns about getting back late on Sunday and turning right around and playing the following week, albeit at home. So there's a lot on the table, but I think they've done their due diligence. They feel good about where they're at. They've had a good camp. They talk a whole lot about the things that are important to them, right? Hydration, nutrition, sleep, all of those types of things. And I'm anxious we've been through enough camp now that I'm anxious to see how the guys perform against a really good football team in quite a setting, actually.
I think the thing that maybe, I don't want to say caught me off guard, but I find interesting about this trip is I know previous teams have gone out earlier, to take in some of, Ireland, to see a few sites, take a couple tours, then play the football game and then get back. K-State seems to be like a business trip. We're going out there, we're going to play, we're going to get home as soon as we can.
Yeah, and it's not that they don't have a couple of 2 or 3 things that they will do. They will have a practice on Thursday afternoon and a little media session after that. And then they have a dinner planned with the team and a couple of things there. And then on Friday, prior to the pep rally, or I guess post-pep rally, I think they've got a couple of team events only that they're going to go. And I don't know exactly what they're going to see, but they've tried to give them a little bit of that. And he described it yesterday as seeing part of Dublin, right? So I'm sure there's a couple of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 stops in there in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, that's one thing I thought was interesting when you said we're not leaving till Wednesday. I thought, really? I figured you guys would be going earlier, but hey, you got everybody's different strokes for different folks. Wyatt Thompson is our guest here on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream, getting set to kick off the 2025 college football season for not only Kansas State but for the entire college football nation. Wyatt, before we brought you on, I was ranking the toughest games on the season this year for K-State. I was curious, what do you think is the toughest game on the schedule this year for the Wildcats?
Well, it's online hearing you there, and I thought you did a really good job of laying that out. And most guys will lay it out, but I thought some of the reasoning was good. As an example, it is a very smart thing to compare playing at Utah with playing in Provo against BYU. 100% factual. I've been there and lived that in my previous life at Colorado State. Those two places are hard. It's also difficult going to Stillwater, whether they're really good or whether they're just okay. I think if I had any nitpicking on yours at all, I really think the game in Waco is going to be hard too. And we know Lawrence is going to be difficult. That's the thing about this league. K-State's got a team that many believe can vie for a playoff shot, but they're going to have to win a little bit on the road to get there, brother. And that's just the way it is. And it will not be easy. But I thought you laid it out pretty frankly, quite good.
I got Baylor at number 3 and Iowa State at number 2. Those are going to be some that was one thing you made a great point, and I noticed that too. It's like, this schedule is probably more daunting than people think. It's going to be quite a bear.
I'll tell you a real quick story. Curry Sexton, who does a lot of our Wildcat NIL stuff, myself and Stan Weber appeared a few nights ago in Kansas City, and Stan laid out some of the things with the schedule in the Big 12, and I thought it was remarkable in how he did it. One of the things he talked about is keep in mind that without pods or divisions or whatever, all schedules are not created equal. I would challenge you to go look at the back half of Baylor's conference schedule as an example. It's nowhere in the hemisphere of what K-State's going to play. It's just the truth. And I think what I'm saying is I think we all would like to see a pod system or divisions to make this thing more fair, because at the end of the day, we saw it in the, last year with the tiebreaker system. It wasn't very good, and it needs to be better. And I'm just being honest about that. I love our commissioner. I think he does good work, but that needs to be cleaned up a little bit, frankly.
No doubt. And with these conferences getting so big and everyone's like, we want to go away from divisions because we don't want, it's not fair that way. I'm like, well, you're going to have to. You're getting so big. You're going to have to cut this down a little bit. Wyatt Thompson continue to be our guest on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream here on this Tuesday morning. One more question about the schedule here. I think a sneaky, very challenging game is in a couple weeks after Ireland against Army.
No doubt.
Coming back, and it's kind of that second week back, trying to get your body still in the groove, and you have to play a system of offense that only 4 teams in all of FBS run. I feel like that is a massively scary game.
100% agree. The other factor in there that you got to say is not only is it their schemes, but if I were going to make a list of the 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 most underrated coaches in America, I can assure you of one thing, Jeff Monken would be on the list. He is a bear to prepare for, and he's very good. They're technically sound. And, this game came about because of K-State and its relationship with, Fort Riley. And those guys are so pro K-State most of the time. I got to be honest. I think when they're here at the stadium, they're going to be rooting for their guys. So it won't be the same. I mean, it'll still be pro K-State. We know that, but it'll be a little odd and different. But I know they're looking forward to it. We are too. But I have the utmost respect for the service academies. I've seen Navy in a bowl game in which they beat K-State. In my CSU days, I saw Air Force way too much. Those programs have great discipline and great toughness. That's obvious.
That to me is probably the most intriguing. I mean, past the Iowa State game, obviously, the most intriguing game of the first quarter of the season. That Army game is going to be fascinating. Wyatt Thompson here is our guest here on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. You've had a lot of time. I know we've been talking off and on a little bit over the last few weeks. Spent a lot of time at practice. I'm curious, what is an area that you have seen really improve, and you feel like maybe started out the year or fall camp as maybe it's a question mark, to where, hey, you know what? I think we're going to be okay in this area.
I think 2, one on each side of the ball. I would take the receiving core, and then probably on the defensive side, the corners. The Wildcat starting corners are more than likely going to be Zayshawn Rich, who is a very talented young player, and then Donovan McIntosh, also the same, talented but young. The difference between those two and the guys that were lost from a year ago, Jacob Parrish and Keenan Garber, is nothing more than experience. They're going to get experience right out of the gate. I think they're every bit as good athletically, which says a lot. Jacob Parrish could be a starter on opening day for the Buccaneers. So that's a big statement, but I like what I see there. I think there's some depth there too with Jaden Rowe, the Oklahoma transfer, and a few others. Amarian Fortenberry, and as an example, a transfer from South Alabama. So there's a lot there. And I really, really like Jerron Tibbs, the receiver, the transfer from Purdue. Jerron Bradley's played in this league. I like Caleb Medford. We have a junior college transfer in here that I think will make his way to Jamiri Davis, a freshman, Adonis Moise. So there's a lot of new there to go along with Jace Brown and all of those options, Sterling Lockett. So I like both of those spots probably better than when camp started.
When will Sterling Lockett make his appearance on the scene and continue the great tradition of Lockett's again?
It's an interesting question because I think the right answer is he's done a little bit of special teams, but he'll probably be the main one of the main return guys this year, along with Dylan Edwards, and I think he's ready for that. I tell everywhere I go, I get asked about him because you said it, he's a Lockett. And what I tell everybody is pretty much always the same in that, look, this kid can play. The problem that he has is that he's playing behind Jace Brown, who is an outstanding player in the slot. But he's going to be in the rotation this time. And I think there are other guys there. I mentioned Jamiri Davis. Excuse me. He'll be there. You're going to see Dylan Edwards play in the slot. So I guess the moral of this story is there's lots of competition, but he's going to get some time.
Wyatt Thompson continue to be our guest here on the Morning Blitz. Okay, the most important position on the offense or on the offensive defense is in the trenches, the line play. How has that looked, and how do you think that's going to hold up this year? I know there's been some coaching changes in some of those spots, so how do you feel like the offensive line and defensive lines are going to hold up here?
Let's start with the offensive line and the job that Brian LePack has done with them, replacing Connor Riley. That's not an easy thing, and I think Brian's done a great job with him. I've said all along that, there are some guys that have been here long enough that they'll step in and not have much of a problem, whether it's Sam Hecht at center, Taylor Portier at guard, and he can play either side, Andrew Lane Gang, John Pastore. Those guys have played a lot of football here. I think what is going to be the key is twofold. One, meshing them all together with those guys I mentioned and those transfer students. It was kind of a tough break losing George Fitzpatrick to a heat-related issue, and he'll come back at some point. He was really going to just be a plug-and-play left tackle like Easton Kilty, who a year ago, who, by the way, is on an NFL roster, but also J.B. Nelson from Penn State, Terrence Enos from Pitt, Amos Talalele from USC. Those guys are making their way, and it's possible a couple of those guys could start when we get to Ireland. So we'll see how it plays, but I do think they're making progress, but I don't think they're a finished product either. We've got to give them a little bit of time to gel. The defensive side, my expectations are quite a bit higher because a lot of those guys have been here before and have been here a while. It's tough to lose a Brendan Mott, no question. But I like the inside middle guys. Damian Ilalio's played a lot of football. Uso Seumalo's played a lot of football. Malcolm Alcorn Crowder from Butler, who did very little last year, much better football player. He's going to be a factor this year. And then those outside guys, it's their turn, whether it's Ryan Davis, Toby Osunsami. I guess I probably should throw in a couple of other guys. I think – just let me. I don't want to leave anybody out, so I'm going to look here. Chidi Obi-Izorp is a dude, right? Cody Stufflebean has been around a long time.
You say we can't.
You know what? He's almost like a player coach now. He's been here for so long. He told me 2 years ago he was done, and then he played. Then he told me last year he was done. Now he's playing again. I love that kid. I'm glad he's back.
And you can't beat your local Kansas kids either. Like
exactly right, man.
So fantastic. Wyatt Thompson continue our guest here on the Morning Blitz. I want to get in before we let you go about this game here coming up against Iowa State. This game, I think, if I'm a K-State fan, it's got me really nervous. I mean, this is as good as Kansas State and Coach Kleiman have been. this Iowa State team and all that they bring back with their head coach and how they play. And honestly, they've kind of had the Wildcats number the last few years, and they return a lot of their offensive line and 2 backs and quarterback. They've got so much going for them, particularly offensively. I don't know, this game to me, if you're a K-State fan, it's really got me a little bit scared about it.
Well, I think you have to be concerned. No question. If you're not, there's probably something wrong with you, because we talk a lot of times about what K-State is. Very consistent in how they're coached. Even if they have a little bit of turnover, it seems pretty seamless for the most part. I like the player development. Some of the guys that they've brought, whether it's Avery or Will Howard Brendan Mott. People forget he was the defensive lineman of the year last year in the Big 12. That guy is a heck of a football player. And then you got guys like Austin Romaine, and I could go on and on and on. You get the idea. This is a good program. But Iowa State somewhat mirrors that. There are differences, but they are good in recruiting and player development with their staff, 2 good coordinators. That's K-State, so you should be concerned. And you're right. They've won, 2 in a row and 4 out of 5 or whatever it is. It's kind of our turn. At least that's the way I'm trying to look at it. And it will. Hey, the chances are, Bud, that this is going to be a fourth quarter 1-score game, and maybe something, I won't say minute, but smallish could decide it. Whether it's a punt return or a block or a mistake on a play where a touchdown's called back, or usually when they're this tight and close. And especially, in a foreign place where it's pretty much a neutral crowd, those smaller things matter. And I think they will here too.
No, I think it's going to be a doozy of a way to kick off the college football season. You're in it. You're in it really thick, because you're in there at point blank range watching everything. And then I'm sure at times you try to kind of step out and take a bigger picture look. But when you look at the schedule, what the team is right now, and of course, things change throughout a season. I mean, I'm actually kind of curious, from your time of covering teams multiple years ago, whether it was at Colorado State or early in your K-State days, you probably had a good feel for your team and for your season before it even began. I feel like in the last few years, because of the portal and all that stuff, it has made it much harder to kind of see and feel how the season will go. And I'm kind of curious how your feel is for this season ahead.
I love the question, because it is harder now with the portal, right? You don't always necessarily know what you're going to get. We've been so fortunate here with the portal, and I've said this 1,000 times or more. We have far benefited from the portal than been hurt by it, right? That's the truth. And let me give you an example, and it's an Iowa State example, but you get the idea. Those 2 receivers that they lost a year ago are both pros, okay? Higgins and Noel were really, really good. Now, here are the replacements. A guy like Daniel Jackson, who's been in their program. But Chase Sowell, he's been at CU as a redshirt and at East Carolina, and Xavier Townsend, the UCF transfer. How will they do? They could do really well and still not be anywhere near what those 2 guys were. You see what I mean? You just have to kind of let that play out. I think Jerron Tibbs, as an example, is going to have a big impact, and maybe Bradley too. But we got to get into some games and see where that's at. Gunnar Maldonado, the Arizona transfer for us, a safety. He's been kind of coming back from an ACL, and he's got a chance to be a big-time difference maker for us, but he's got to be on the field. So there are a lot of variables there is what I'm saying. And it's harder. You're absolutely right. With the portal, you got so many teams with so many new faces. It's hard to track. And I spend more time at it now than I've ever done.
Absolutely.
And that's okay too. I love the work. You know that.
Well, I just feel like, when everyone sets out, well, make your prediction. I'm like, how do you make a prediction? You don't know. I mean,
think about it like this. Our coaches weren't even willing to do a preseason poll.
Right.
After last year when Arizona State was picked last and won the league.
I don't blame. We've had this conversation. I don't blame them for doing it one bit.
Exactly.
I totally get why I totally get why they do it. But man, it is, to me, I just think about it like this K-State offensive line. It could be great. All these guys could come together. It could gel. It could be they could be mashers. or they could not get together. They couldn't communicate, and it could be a long season for Avery Johnson. Spent a lot of time on his back. You just don't know.
Another good point, and here's why. K-State, one of their big questions, the offensive line. In what spot does Iowa State want to be much better than they were a year ago? Run defense and that defensive front. They match up. Let's see how that plays out.
It's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to watch on Saturday. Wyatt, it's always great to catch up, my friend. Thank you so much. Safe travels there and back, and we'll catch up throughout the season again. All right, sir?
Absolutely, partner. Great talking to you, my friend. Appreciate
Once again, great stuff there from Wyatt Thompson here on the Morning Blitz. Man, great stuff from him talking about the upcoming season, and, man, it's going to be a dandy of one. All right, we're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to wrap up the show with our final thoughts, a little bit of baseball, and some great news for Colby Community College volleyball. That is next here on the Morning Blitz.
When severe weather strikes, you need to stay informed. At NWKS Radio, we break in anytime, anywhere, giving you the latest watches and warnings to protect your family. When severe weather breaks out, we break in. Severe weather coverage is brought to you by Roof Masters of Colby, Pathway Ag, and Andrew Flanagan of Farm Bureau Financial Services. NWKS Radio, your weather safety station.
Summer is heating up, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby has everything you need to make the most of it. Tame that lawn with top-notch weed and feed from Ultimate Fertilizer, and keep those bugs away with powerful pesticides. Plus, Ego mower blowers and trimmers to get that job done fast. Fire up some summer flavor with a Traeger grill or a Blackstone griddle, and if you're building a fence or even fixing a sprinkler, they've got the building materials and supplies to keep your projects moving. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, your summer project headquarters.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Summer's ending, school's here, and Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland has the trucks to keep you moving. A 2025 Sierra 3500 Pro, $1,000 purchase allowance or 3.9% for 48 months. A 3500 Denali, $2,000 purchase allowance or 3.9%. Or Sierra 1500 over a $6,000 purchase allowance or 0% APR for 36 months. Make this school year the smoothest ride yet. Visit Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, or shop online anytime at hurlchev.com.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Quick hits, bold takes, and all the action.
I'll take that action.
Welcome back to the Morning Blitz.
Thanks again to Wyatt Thompson. Always great to catch up and visit with him and get his thoughts, and look forward to seeing how these first four games rattle off, and we'll get him back on the program again to kind of get his feel for Wildcat football. On the diamond last night, a pair of 4-3 wins for the Royals and the Rockies. Kansas City jumping out and getting a 4-3 victory behind a solo shot from Mike Yastrzemski. Vinny Pasquantino had a home run as well and drove in a couple, helping Kansas City prevail over the Rangers. And then it was a little bit of drama, but the Rockies pull it off in the end. A Ezekiel Tovar solo homer in the seventh to tie it at 3 against the LA Dodgers. And then in the bottom of the ninth, Warming Bernabel with a single to center, scoring Ezekiel Tovar, who was at second base, and a walk-off winner for the Rockies. They have won 4 in a row. Some fun stats. Colorado needs just 6 of its final 37 games to steer clear of the 2024 Chicago White Sox for the modern record of 121 losses. So 6 more wins to put themselves in a better position than the White Sox of just last year. I didn't know. I think 4 might be the longest winning streak of the season for the Rockies. It might have tied it. And the Royals, with that win, 17-11 since the All-Star break. And shout out to Carlos Estevez, the former Rocky. He earned his career-high 30-second save for the Royals. And this is what you want in a closer. Like, this is what you want. In half of the games, he has a save, and half of the Royals wins this year. So when he is called upon, it's almost a guarantee that the Royals are going to hold on and win. It almost is. I know he's had a couple blown saves, but he has been very, very good about when he's in there, we're going to get a win. And the Royals have done that very well. There's other teams like Arizona that could really use a guy that could lock it down in the final inning. That is for sure. But both the Royals and Rockies, a little bit of hotness here as they come down the home stretch of this 2025 Major League Baseball season.
And back lifts his ball deep to right. How about a walk-off Grady? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
And some, I don't know if it's great news, bad news. It's congratulations news, I guess, for Colby Community College volleyball. We had head coach Kerry Jones on the program yesterday as they get set to open up their season here this Friday down in Midland, Texas. But CCC going to be ranked number 3 in the nation going into this coming season. Now, once again, the rankings for the Nationals, the NJCAA, are based upon what you did last year. They finished 3rd last year at the national tournament. They're ranked number 3 in the nation to begin this year. They still only have 5 returners and have a lot of freshmen, 12 freshmen, as Coach Jones told us. So they have a lot of unanswered questions, but I have a feeling they've got quite a bit of talent that's coming in that freshman class. So I feel they're going to be just fine. But highest ranking ever in program history, number 3 in the nation, Colby Community College volleyball. Congratulations to those ladies. All right, that does it for the program today. Don't forget Royals and Rockies on AM 730 KLOE and AM 790 KXXX. They continue those series against the Dodgers and Rangers, respectively. We'll be back again tomorrow on a Wednesday program. Hope you join us. You've been listening to the Morning Blitz. Have a great one.
Classic rock plays here. This is Rocket 102.5 KKCI Good.